Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. It is bright and early. Well, actually, it is still dark because it's 6 a.m. I am coaching this class 2 hours earlier than normal, and I want to start off by saying, see, I can't even talk yet. Thank you guys for understanding. I had a super last-minute appointment come up, and so decided to pull us into the early hours of the morning to do this leg workout. We have a lower body strength and core workout today. In terms of equipment, I have my chair out and over here and ready, as well as my 8-pound dumbbells and my 2 loop bands. I have a strong one and a light one. I'm not wearing shoes, and I have a mat, and that's all the things. So let's get you guys started down on the floor with us getting into our 90-90 position. So we'll have a seat down here. 90 degrees at both of our knees. So we want to bend in a bend. We'll lock both feet in place. Try to sit up as upright as possible. And then we'll flip the legs over using a little bit of support from those arms if we need it. The goal eventually is to do this with no arms and no hands. So we'll go back and forth 10 times total. I have my arms up here to help just promote me to not have them down behind me. And we'll go through 10 of these. I'm just gonna move this guy to the corner. I'm not gonna use them quite yet. So we'll go back and forth, 10 total, 5 per side. And then we'll have you guys lay down on your side, on your back on your side, stacking your arms, stacking your legs. We're gonna take this top leg and we'll weave it underneath the bottom leg into that bow and arrow. Yes, so we'll inhale and cross the body. Exhale, bring this hand all the way down to the floor, and then we'll reach up and around our head, returning back to center and doing that 5 times total. So 4 more times on this side. So we'll exhale into it, trying to extend the arms straight. I don't quite have enough room over here to extend my arm out straight, so I'm just putting it down on the floor with a bend in it. But if I did, I would reach this arm out all the way to the side. So we'll go through 5 on this side, and then you guys can switch. You can literally just flip over. I'm gonna switch around so I can still face you guys. And then we'll do the same thing on the side here, again, stacking that leg, arms, exhaling, crossing the body. I don't quite have enough room. And now we'll go through on this side. So with every rep, we're exhaling into this, trying to see if we can get a little bit looser, a little bit more comfortable in this position towards that 5th time that we do it. Feels so nice, especially first thing in the morning or after you haven't done a lot of other things. Okay, so we are going to stand up to the top, come to the front of our mat now. So we'll stand hip width apart. I'm going to step back into the lunge, bring both of my hands down onto the floor, drop my knee down onto the floor, open up towards that leg, close, step all the way up to the top, stand nice and tall, and then we'll go through that on the other side. So again, both hands down, our knee is down, exhale and open. We're getting a stretch happening through this entire side, close, and then stand up to the top. Whew, a little bit of balance. All right, so we're going to do 2 more to make it 3 per side. So we're opening and exhaling, trying to loosen up our back, our chest, our shoulders, and follow your hand with your eyeballs. And we'll go through 1 more of those per side. It's so dark in here. This is weird. Usually I have a window right behind you guys here, and usually the sunlight comes in, but it is, well, first of all, it's like smoky out, but it's also a dark. I don't even know when the sun rises. All right, so once you guys are finished those ones, we're going to come to the center of our mat, standing then hip width apart with our feet right underneath our hips and sticking our arms above our head. We're working with an overhead hip hinge. So hip hinge is us, nice posture, soft knees. We're going to push the hips back behind us so that we're only hinging or moving through our hips. Arms are going to stay lifted and extended above our head. And we're just trying to move through the hips, pushing the hips back, pulling the hips forward. Yes. And we're working through 10 times total. But we're trying to feel a stretch happening through the back side, the back of the legs, and then we squeeze our butt and bring ourselves up to the top. So we'll go through 10 of those. We got 2 more. This little warm up routine. Okay, so we got 2 more exercises here. These next 2 are all about activation. So first we're going to start off with our glutes, and then we're going down onto the floor for our core and our ab muscles before we start our first 2 leg strength exercises. So first one, the glute warm up. We're going to do a hip loaded step through. So this one is definitely one of my favorite glute activation exercises because it's so foolproof. And as long as you're doing these specific things, you are going to feel it. So we'll start off standing, same position as that hinge, shifting all of our weight onto one leg. So I'm going to start with my left, soft knee with that left leg. And then we're doing that hip hinge, same thing that we just did in the warm up there with the arms above the head. Push the hips back. Wherever this foot ends up, that's where it ends up. And then you can align your opposite arms with your legs. So this one's forward, so I'll bring this arm forward. And then I'll step through, trying to push my hips back, load them up, and then use all that tight tension on this standing leg here to pull my hips through. So we'll go through 10 of these on each side. It's not a lunge, more of a deadlift, trying to stick the butt out, keep that tight feeling in the back of your leg, and then we use that to pull our hips forward. So we're going through 10 per side. And again, this one is kind of like, no matter what, you're going to feel it, but you can also not feel it if you're not thinking about loading up the back of your leg. We're not doing a lunge, so make sure that your knee is not bending, but it does stay slightly bent so that it's not completely locked out the entire time, because no one wants the locked out joints. Okay, so let's go through 10 and 10, and then we are going down onto the floor for the last part of our warm up, which is going to be an off knee lift. So we're in our off knee position, hands in the knees, all fours, shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. I got my toes dug into the floor. I'm gonna hover off my knees and just pop up and hold here so that there's a nice strong position in my core. My back is nice and flat. And then I'll lift up my hand one at a time, trying to control that positioning of my hips. Once I can do that, I'll take the opposite foot with me, opposite hand and foot, and we're going to try to do 10 total where we're controlling what's happening in our hips. We don't want them rocking or shifting side to side. If they do start to do that, then do not lift your foot up with your hand. Just work with that hand, because that stillness and that tightness and positioning with your hips is the most important part and thing here. So if it's not happening, then you're definitely, most definitely, not going to get the core activation. So just the hand is fine. 10 of them, 5 per side. And then you guys can stand up. Whoop. And we're going to get you started. So first 2 exercises. We're starting off with hip thrusts using our chair, our bench, our couch. If you do not have something like this, I have options for you. First option is you laying on your back with your feet on the floor and your back on the floor. Other option is what I explained last week, or we did last week if you guys were here, where we have our foot up on something. So this is another way to make the hip thrust harder. If you don't have something soft that you can put your upper back on, you can flip around and use like a stool in your house or a stair, because most of us have stairs. And you can put your feet up on there, which is going to increase the range of motion and just make this a little bit more challenging, okay? What we're doing, hip thrust, we're gonna start off with body weight, going through some rest pause sets. So we're going to do 10 reps. So we'll get into position here
Knee is stacked over our heel. We want our ribs and pelvis together. So we're doing a little bit of that crunch right off the bat. And then we'll drive up to the top, squeezing our glutes, looking forward, and then down, going through 10 reps total. So we're working through this range of motion where we're coming down, and we stop before that knee wants to drive back. And then we push all the way up to the top and try to drive our pelvis under, or tuck our pelvis under, so that we're squeezing our butt and we're not arching our back. So you want to really rock it the other way. So we'll go through 10 reps of this one. Again, if you don't have that chair, you can have your feet up on something, or you can simply just do this one off the floor, making that contact with your lower back, and so on. Once you're done 10, don't go anywhere. You can just come up here, sit down on the floor for a second, whatever you want to do. We're going to take about 30 seconds and do 2 more sets like this to really warm up our glutes and hips in this hip thrust specifically, okay? So essentially, right away, once you've sat up here, take a couple breaths, no water because that would make you get up unless it's close to you. We're going to get right back into this and do it again. So second set, same as the first, same setup, going through 10 reps total. And we should feel this a little bit more. Now, as you guys go through this set, I'm going to talk about a couple things here. Once we're done this one and the next one, and you're still going and you're still counting to 10, we are going to do 3 more with a superset exercise. We're going to pair it with another exercise. So if you would like, you can start off these first 3 sets completely body weight, no equipment involved. Again, the goal of them is to really just fire up your backside, which hopefully you're starting to feel. And once you're done 10, you can just rest, have a seat down here, or just sit on the floor if you like. We're going to do 1 more set. So if you would like, on this last set or on the next 3, you can add some resistance to this. So we can go bands around the knees, this banded resistance. Oh, we know this makes this a lot harder because it pulls our knees in, which makes us use our glutes more to keep the knees apart. The other thing that you can do is add the weight on top of your hips. So those are options. I'm going to leave them up to you. We're going to do 1 more set here of this hip thrust for this little rest pause, for these rest pause sets. So we'll go through 10 of this one. And then once we're done 10, should be really feeling it. Once you're finished 10, we're going to stand up to the top and go through a step back lunge in a superset with these hip thrusts. So now we are going to start our first of 3 sets of reverse lunges and hip thrusts together. So if you want to add resistance to this, that's what I was trying to explain there. Again, this whole early in the morning thing, words seem to be hard. We're going to start off with these lunges. If you guys have dumbbells, we're going to weight them, holding those dumbbells front loaded up here like this. By doing this, we're getting more core, a little bit of upper body, yes, but we're overall making this harder to hold on our core and our ab muscles. So what we're going to do is step back into a lunge, drive the knee up, and go through only one side for 10 reps total. So you guys can start this right now. If your weights are quite heavy, you can always hold one dumbbell sideways like this. And if you guys are working with bands, I would prefer that you add that band of resistance around your foot like this, rather than holding it up in the front here, so that you get this work on your leg. My band is black and my pants are, well, they're like dark blue. You can't really see it. Yes, you guys can. Okay. So same thing with the foot. I know I wasn't quite driving up at the top there. It's a little bit more limited with the band as it's in the way, but we'll still try to not make full contact with that other foot as we go through each rep. All right. So we're doing 10 and 10. Not too bad. So you can make these so much harder by simply not using your back foot as much to push up to the top. And you can make them a lot easier by using that back foot more. So what you can think about is essentially like not using it at all, and kind of like lifting it up before you stand up to the top, because we're only doing 10 reps. Once you guys are finished those 10, both sides of course, we're going right into our first of 3 sets of hip thrusts. So we're sticking with 10 reps because we did those first 3 sets and we're doing these lunges in between. You're most likely going to feel this a lot in your backside. But at any point throughout these 10 reps, if you want to feel it a little bit more, you can add that pause at the top where you just take an extra second or two to just hold and think about what you're feeling, aka your butt, and then you can go through your set. So when we're going from the lunges into the hip thrusts, we are not taking any rest. I want you guys to just go back to back right into it. Once we're done these hip thrusts, we can take some rest. We'll take at least 30 seconds, 45 seconds, keeping it under a minute before we go into our second of 3 sets of these ones. Because we have some similar stuff going on here, similar muscles working, excuse me, in the hip thrusts and in the lunges. It's a very backside focused situation that we got going on. All right, let's do it. Okay. Oh. All right. So again, once you guys are done, grab your H2O, whatever you want to do for this amount of time, trying to keep it under a minute so that we can get through 2 more sets, because that is what you are going to do when you are feeling ready to start your second set. So again, we're trying to go through these 2 exercises. We'll do 2 more sets of these 2. Starting off with this step back lunge with the knee drive at the top, working with 10 reps per side. Balance is so hard when you look to the side. And yes, balance is coming into play here. We're trying to involve it at the top of each rep. If you find balance is no bueno, try not to put too much weight on this foot, but just the light graze will help you stay safe more than anything else. Because you falling while you're lunging with weights in your hands, not a good idea. All right. So again, into our hip thrusts that we are really feeling at this point in our lives. Hopefully. Awesome. Yes. All right. So we'll do our 10 hip thrusts. Woo. Over the butt. Should be feeling again the back of our hips. Yes. Taking this little bout of rest. We have 1 more round, 1 more set to do. The last one. And then we are moving on to the next part. Okay. So take your rest, you guys. Then grab water. We are going to move on. So for most of us, lunges can be made extremely challenging by doing this instead. You can try, instead of lunging, doing like a skater squat instead. Now, this is your last set. I don't want you guys to do that, but I do want you to think about what's going on there. As I lower myself down and I stand myself up, I'm not using my back leg, okay? So kind of what I was trying to explain here, but just another way to show it to you guys. So let's try to take that into our final set here. As we step back into the lunge, we'll think 100% front leg only is standing us up. So this one actually lifts off the ground back there, and then it drives up to the top. Rather than it staying and helping us by like pushing off the floor, it just makes it so much easier on that front leg. And I don't want that. I want you guys to be challenged here, get the most out of it that we can. So let's do it up. Final set, see if you can take that into it. You have 1 more of the hip thrusts, and then we are done with those ones. Moving on to the next ones. All right. Okay. So take your time, you guys. We have time. We have about 2 minutes until we need to start the next part here. 2 new exercises. Well, new. We've been here before, but for what we've been doing so far. Okay, so as you guys come to an end on those ones, we are going to move on. So once you're done, you can stand yourself up, whoop, whoop, walk it off. We are not going to be using this chair for this next part, but we will need it again at the very end for the next part, actually, because there's only 2 more parts, the strength, then core, of course. So coming up next here, we have a RDL. So RDL, Romanian deadlift. We started our last few Fridays with the sumo version of that one. Today, we are doing the normal version in a stagger stance position to make it a single leg focused exercise. So we've done this before as well with our back foot up on the chair. So I have my shin kind of where that chair is. Today I have this foot on the floor here. What we're going to do is start off by setting up with what equipment we're going to use. We'll start off with this one. If you're working with bands, we're going to anchor the band just as we did on those lunges there around the opposite side. So you'll be holding it here and it'll be around my opposite foot over here. If you're working with weights, what we're going to do is hold one weight in each hand like this, just down by our sides. Standing up nice and tall, hip width apart in the feet. We're going to soften out the knees and take the ball of one foot and put it beside the heel of the other foot. So I'm up on my toe, knees bent, softening over here. We're pushing our hips back and then pulling our hips forward, trying to keep all of my weight on this standing front leg, the one without the lifted up heel. And we're going through 15 reps on this side. So let's start it up. So we're going through this staggered stance deadlift. Our legs should be in line with each other. And you can play around with how far or close your foot is. But we want to make sure that we are doing a deadlift and we're not accidentally bending our leg into some sort of squat or something like that. We want the leg to stay straight, the knee to stay soft so that we're feeling a stretch through the back of the leg. Very similar to our single leg deadlift, this one, with the balance involved, except there's no balance. And we're just focusing on the work in the back of the leg. Okay, so once you guys are finished this one, which you're not yet, because you have to do 15 on each side, and you're most likely not done yet. But as you do, come to an end on that one. We are pairing this one with some squats. Yes, so do not go too far. Keep your equipment close. Once you're done 15 and 15, we're going into 5 reps of our 5 pulse squats. So in terms of weight, front-loaded weight is ideal. Dumbbells, something heavy, holding in the front here, in front of our chest. If you don't have dumbbells, we can add banded resistance around our knees. So you can grab your band, put it on around your knees. You can also add this band and the dumbbells if you want a little bit more out of this one than normal. Maybe you only added one of those last time. What we're going to do is sit down and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that was 1 rep, and I'm going to do 5 of those. So again, we sit down 90 degrees, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we come all the way up. If I'm holding weights, I can have 1 or 2 dumbbells front loaded here, and then the lower I pulse, the more challenging. We don't want to ever go below 90 degrees, so we never need to go down here. 90 is fine, but if I was to like pulse up here, this is going to be a lot easier. It's also a lot safer for those of you who have sensitive knees. So you can try just not sitting so low, and it will feel better if your knees are a little bit sore. So we're doing 5 with the 5 pulses. Oh, I know. Sounds so nice, right? With 5 reps. And then you get into those pulses and you're like, whoo, feels like a lot more than 5. Okay. So once you guys are done that, you know what's up. We are doing it again 3 more sets total. Yes. So going back to the first one, our staggered stance RDL, Romanian deadlift. Another way to explain this whole straight deadlift, straight leg deadlift situation. So we're trying to push the hips back and pull the hips forward in that staggered stance. Rather than you just bringing your body down and standing up, we want movement through the hips. That's going to help you guys have proper form no matter what. If you do that, if you think about hips back, hips forward, rather than body down, body up, because that's when we start to round through our back. So let's get set up. We'll go into our next set. Yep, we are doing 4 of them. So we'll set up here again. Nice posture, soft knees, position that foot, shift all of your weight onto this standing leg. So the only thing that this one is doing is giving you a little kickstand of balance. So we have our balance being assisted by this leg over here. So we'll go through 15 reps on each side. And if you're working with the band, you have opposite hand, opposite foot. Ooh, and we should really feel that in the back of the leg. Hamstring your butt. Let's do it. Good work, you guys. Okay. So, 15 and 15. Ooh, she burns. Nice work, you guys. We'll keep going through these ones. Okay. So again, we got 15 reps on each side. Yes. Followed by the 5 reps, the 5 pulse squats you guys are going to go through. So if you haven't already noticed, I really like this exercise, this 5x5 pulse rep squats, because it's kind of a good mix between, like, you know, a nice low number of reps, but something that feels really, really challenging, but somehow, like, you can convince yourself to do it because it's only like 5, right? Some things that you can do to make this harder, to make this easier, to make it harder, if you slow down. You sit, and if you slow down or increase how big those pulses are, if you make the pulses bigger or if you make them take longer, that's going to make this entire set take a lot longer, which means there's going to be longer time that your leg muscles, your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, everything is under the tension. So if you take longer, if you make the pulses bigger, you're going to get more work on the legs. It's going to make the entire thing a lot harder, especially if you don't have access to weights or bands or whatever it is. Even with those, that's something that's really easy for you to control, and you can switch it up even set to set if you need to. We have 2 more chances to do that, and we're trying to go through these 2 together with little to no rest in between. So once we're done our squats, the 5x5, we can take a quick sip of water. We don't have any prescribed rests. So we don't have that like 45 seconds of me wanting you to rest because we have different stuff going on here. That staggered stance deadlift, it's a very backside, back of the leg, back of the butt, backside focused exercise, whereas your squats are more front side. So we're going to get the work in the quads, a little bit through the back, but they're much more quads. So we can do these 2 together without any rest in between. So I'm trying to say, a little rest. You might like mentally need some rest, so you can take a little bit, but try to keep it under about 30 seconds. All right, so let's do it again. So we'll go through our 3rd set. Back to this first one, this staggered stance deadlift. So again, we're focusing all of our weight, all of our efforts on this front leg. This one is simply just assisting the balance. All right, so we'll get into that 3rd set here. excuse me, you guys have about 3 to 4 minutes. I cannot math. We'll say 4 minutes to get that done. This one, and then one more set of these two, which will be the last one after this one. All right. Good job, guys. So we'll get into the third sets. Woo, taking our time with it. You guys have about 3 minutes to finish up the last couple sets here. We'll get as close to 4 sets as we can, but we gotta stay on track for time because we got some stuff that we still have to get through. There you go. So especially on our deadlifts, before you guys go anywhere, we want to think about locking your shoulder blades into place, bringing your shoulder blades together. That's going to help us promote a stronger positioning in our back, in our posture itself. As we go down into that deadlift, if our shoulders are being pulled together, our back typically will stay straight no matter what. Whereas if my shoulders kind of roll forward, then my back starts to round. And then I start to do a little bit of this, and no one wants that. It doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, and it's gonna jack up your lower back in the worst way possible. So we'll try to keep everything as connected as possible and just move through the hips. Stick your butt out, your butt forward. That makes a huge difference. You guys start thinking about that. There you go. So we'll get going in these squats, and 5 reps with the 5 pulses, not bouncing. I know I said slower is harder. That doesn't necessarily mean fast is easier. I don't want you guys to go fast. I want you to just be in control. You don't have to slow down, but really do try to be in control of what's happening. You're not just bouncing and ending up in that squat. I want you to make everything happen for a reason. All right, so we'll go through our final set here. You guys have about 2 minutes to get through this. Woo! So we'll get into it right away. If you've not started already, we'll start our final set of the 15. Yes, 15. For the blaze. All right, so last set of these 2. Good job, you guys. Let's finish it up strong. Final set of these ones. 15, 15, and then 5 with the 5 pulses at the bottom. Ooh. There you go. All right, so we'll give you guys 1 more minute here to finish this up. Just 60 seconds. Yep. Okay. So take your time / get through this as quickly as possible, as efficiently as possible, without sacrificing your form, your technique. Once you guys are done, grab a quick sip of water, shake out your legs. Know that there is 1 more part of this class. Well, 2 more parts. We have 1 more leg strength superset, and then we are on the floor working our core. Some sneaky hip work in there too. But we will talk about that in about 10 minutes when we get there. The next 10 minutes we are going to spend on these 2 exercises that I'm going to show you guys. The first one is a single leg hip thrust. What's up? So we have been here before. We know this one. We're going to get set up in the same position as we did for the hip thrust at the very beginning, but we're going to do these on 1 leg. So you guys are going to work with one leg, both sides, and then we are up for another exercise, which we'll talk about, but we're gonna start with this one. We have an AMRAP set, so I'm gonna set you guys a timer. Yes. So I'm gonna set you guys a timer. I was just looking at the time there. We are gonna spend the next 10 minutes doing these 2 exercises, and you are going to complete as many sets as you can in 10 minutes. So I'm doing this time cap because some of us are going to want to go slower. Some of us are going to want to pause. We're going to do different things within our set to make this harder or easier. And some of you simply might need to take more rest between your sets. So you may get 3 sets, you may get 4, you may get 5. Definitely more than 2 within this amount of time, aka 10 minutes. So let's get set up here for our single leg hip thrust. I have pressed start on the timer. It has started counting down. We're gonna set up here with narrow feet. So my feet are almost touching. Same ribs, pelvis, crunch together, hips all the way up to the top. I'm gonna lift up on the one leg, go down and up. And we're working with 10 as our count. So for most of us, 10 of these hip thrusts are really hard. Just to go all the way up, all the way down 10 times is going to be really challenging on this leg. If you want to make it harder, holding at the top for even 1 or 2 seconds will absolutely amplify this way more than you might think. So you can try that out 1, 2 between every single rep, and then we're going to switch sides. So switch to the other side. For those of you who do not have the chair, same rules apply if you want to put your foot up on something, or you can simply work off the floor, working with this hip bridge. Same rules with the pause if you want to make it a little bit harder. All right, so we'll get up after that one. Again, we are going through 10 and 10. So the next one we're going through is a deadlift to double calf raise. Now we're going to do this onto our chair here in a seated position. In terms of weight, if you are working with bands, you're going to go body weight. If you're working with dumbbells, you can hold the dumbbells down by your sides here. If we're standing in front of our chair, we're going to send our hips back so that our knees don't move forward, but our hips move back behind us until we're all the way, we tap bench, you don't sit down. Okay, I just want you guys to touch the chair, and then we'll come up into a double calf raise and then down into that deadlift. So it's a deadlift because my hips go back, my knees don't go forward like they would in a squat. So I want to drive my hips back, make contact with the chair, and then go twice onto my toes. So we're going through 10 reps total of these ones, trying to balance as we pulse. And again, if you don't have dumbbells, what I'm trying to say, we are not going to hold bands here because the bands, the calf raises don't work that well. So we'll just focus on really pushing your hips back and balance. And if you are working with body weight, feel free to throw in more calf raises, as it's going to be harder up here to do more calf raises than it is to do like more deadlifts with body weight, if that makes sense. So you can do maybe 3 or 5 calf raises at the top before you go back down to the bottom. The other thing it's going to do is make this take a little longer, and in turn, you won't get as many sets, but your sets will be more challenging. Okay, so once you guys are done this, again, we are doing our thing here as many times as we can in the amount of time that we have left, which is 6.5 minutes. So you guys have plenty of time to go through this. Okay, so we'll go through our second set. When you guys are ready, back into this first one in the single leg hip thrust. Yeah. So we'll get into it and trying our best to not take any rest in between. But if you are really challenged by your sets, you finish the deadlifts and you actually feel like you need to take a little bit of rest, then you can try to keep it under about 30 seconds, but do take a couple sips of water or something like that, and then we'll get into it again. Woo! So again, guys, with this next set here, we want this to be hard. Like 10 reps, not the hardest thing in the world for some of us. So please do something to make it more challenging. And pausing between each rep is a good technique, but it's also kind of tedious, kind of challenging to do sometimes. So another thing that you can do is all 10, do all 10 reps, and then hold for 10 seconds. We've been there before. I know you guys remember this. Actually, we did the 10 pulses too. I know it was brutal. But that's something that you guys can also try, is maybe breaking it up and doing 10 reps followed by a 10-second hold. Just something to make you uncomfortable in this one. Feel like you need to stop by the time you get to that last rep, aka the 10th one. And if you don't, then hold that one. Hold the last rep. Don't leave until you are shaken and you need to lower down your hips. Good job, guys. So if you do not have a chair, a bench, whatever it is, to guide your hips back here, that is absolutely okay. You just have to remember to stick your butt out and not allow your knees to come forward. And it's a lot easier to do with this chair, with this bench, because you can kind of sit down. Again, I know I said don't fully sit, but you can kind of rest some weight here, which makes it a lot easier to sink your hips back like that. Whereas if I don't have that chair, it just feels a lot harder to get my hips back into that position. So ideally, use the chair, but if you don't have it, you're just doing it without trying to go through the same thing with the hips back. And the calf raises, of course. Don't forget about those. So when we're going through those calf raises too, some people will find these way easier or way harder than others. But when you're doing that double calf, we go all the way up onto the toes, down without relaxing or touching the heel. We're trying to hover between those two reps. And then we go down. The deadlift, and then up twice. Or maybe you want to add in 2 or 3 more calf raises at the top. Yes. We have 3.5 minutes left of this very fun stuff. It's finally getting light out, but it is so smoky out that it is not even light out. What do? Can always be worse, right? I always think about the people who are actually in the forest fire, because it's not okay. We're not that bad. And we're also grateful to be able to work out in our own houses. Go outside, hopefully not, and breathe it in. All right, you guys, we have 2.5 minutes left to get through this. So then we're going through these, taking a little to no rest. The hip thrusts, the deadlift, 2 calf raises, 10 reps of each. We'll try to get through at least 1 more solid set here before we move on to the last part, which is pretty much us just chilling on the floor. Just kidding. There's some serious work to be done down on the floor, but we are going to be hanging out on the floor until the very end of the class in 2 minutes when we're done this part. So let's try to get the most out of this last part of our leg strength by, again, finishing this final set stronger than you did the first set. Maybe you'll get 2 more in. Maybe you're just finishing up the deadlifts because you got time with it. We have 1.5 minutes to go through this. Let's do it. Nice work, guys. Okay. 60 seconds. We are so close. So we'll finish up this final set here when this timer goes off in 50 seconds. Not that much time went by. You guys are going to be done this part, okay? But I want you to finish up this set, especially if you are just starting, maybe. Let's keep it even on both sides, first of all. So get through those hip thrusts and do both sides. You guys have 30 seconds, so do what you can in this final amount of time. We do have about 2 minutes of transition time. So if for some reason you want to finish your set so bad just because you want it to be even,
You can take an extra minute to finish that last exercise if you need to. Yay! Okay. The best part of the class is coming up. All right, you guys, we are there in 3, 2, and time. Morning alarm. Nice work. Okay, so good job. Grab yourself some water. We are going to move on to the final part here, which is on the floor and on a timer. Well, I suppose that was kind of on a timer as well, but we are going on an interval timer. There we go. And yep, have to make sure. Okay, so we are. Hi. All right. So once you guys are done that, which you are done, grab yourself a quick sip of water, put your stuff away. We do not need the chair. We will not need these dumbbells or the bands. We are strictly body weights. Yay! Until the very end here, hanging out on the floor. So what we're doing is working off of this timer. This last part here is going to take us about 12 minutes, so we have to get to work. We are going through 3 exercises. One of them is a double-sided exercise. We will complete 3 sets of the following, holding each side for 40 seconds. So 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off. First exercise being 2 sides. And then we have 2 other moves that we're going to do on this timer that I will show you on the rest round, the 20-second rest round. And we have 3 sets of this, okay? So first one is our half side plank, with our internal and external rotation. So I'm going to bend this bottom leg across here so that I'm lifting up from the side of that shin. I'm gonna press start here. We're gonna talk about this, okay? And here we go. So yeah, no beep. I don't know why I always legs out on the first one. So we're gonna get up into this half side plank, push our hips forward, lift up this leg, keep it at 90 degrees, and then I'm going to internal and external. Rotate that leg through this rotation, keeping the leg lifted, but I'm just kicking the heel up and then the heel down, and you'll feel oh so much work happening in hip. And we are gonna hold this for 15 more seconds. Let me see if I can get this beep going here. So you guys are holding here, chest forward. When in doubt, just hold. You don't have to worry about the internal, external. Just hold and rest. Okay. So we're going to do the other side now. Oh, yes. So we'll switcheroo. Take a deep breath. Getting ready to lift up in 5 seconds, working through the same thing. So hips forward, chest up, leg up, external, internal rotation of the hip. So I'm trying to open the hip and close the hip. So again, if you can't quite hold this, you can try either putting the toe down, just holding the leg up like this, or when in doubt, you can stack your legs. Maybe just try to open up the leg like so. 15 seconds left. All of us should be able to at least just stay in this position for 10 more seconds. That's what you guys got. Stay with us. 3, 2, 1. Rest. Nice work. And holding here. 3, 2, 1, and time. Nice work, you guys. Okay. Whew. So we have one more to do. Last one. We are all the way down on our back here. Legs are up and straight. Triangle in the hands. We're going to reach behind the head and then exhale and crunch up, reaching our arms above our head. Let's go. So we should never see our hands because they're staying above our head. If we need to make this a little bit easier, we can bend the legs. And you can also even support your neck if you need a little bit of neck support. So very isolated right down the front of your core. Feeling your shoulder blades lift off the floor. You guys have 15 seconds left. Let's do it. Woo! There we are. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was us. We have 2 more sets. Yeah, 3 sets total. So we're going back to that first one, that half side plank with that internal, external rotation. Probably the hardest one here. I don't know, maybe. Depends who you're asking. But I find this one is extremely challenging. Feeling this through the hips. We're also getting work on the core, a little bit in your shoulder. We want to make sure to push the hips forward in front of us as much as we can. And we'll work with this internal and external rotation. Oh, it burns. And you guys are working through it for 15 more seconds on this side. Let's get it. Nice work. Breathe through this. 3, 2, 1. Woo-hoo! Other side. So let's switcheroo. Flip her over. Let's do the other side here, but don't start yet because we have this nice 10 seconds still of the rest before we start on the second side. Remember, you only have to do this one more time, okay? Here we go. So we'll work through this one. Again, doing that same thing that you did on the first side as much as you can, working with that rotation. If you need to, you can plant your toe down and work just with this opening. Because I understand, and I know this one's really hard. Hence why I'm not doing the entire set with you. Because if I did, I went to go do my workout later, so I still got to do my workout later, I would be very sore just from this. Because this is exhausting. 3, 2, and rest. Nice work, you guys. Okay, hollow hold. We have that isolated crunch. One more set, and then we are done. So look at us go. Hollow hold. So the idea here, I know sometimes people get a little confused, but it is a hold. We want to hold one of those positions, not all of them. The only reason why you would move is if you lose that lower back contact. So you have to make it again. And if you stick a leg out and you lose your back contact, then we have to bring the leg in. But once you hold it, you can feel the back is tight and you're holding this position, then you can just hold and stay here. And I know that feels harder than, moving between all these options, but that's the whole point, is that you are holding this in a more static position, kind of similar to the way we hold a plank. We're not trying to just move and move in our plank sometimes maybe, but same idea. 3, 2, 1. Good job, you guys. Hopefully I distracted you a bit. So we have this last one, the toe touches or crunches, the iso crunch. And then we have one more round. So we're on our back still. Again, ideally, this should be done with straight legs, but not everyone has that sort of mobility going on, and or it might feel too hard. So you can always bend the legs if you need to. And we'll try to just really focus on having our shoulder blades leave the floor as we go through that. Ooh. Good job, you guys. Halfway, we have 20 seconds left. So we approach our final set here. Coming up next. Woo. So we'll breathe every breath. We exhale on the way up. There we go with 3, 2, 1. And sleep, you guys. Last set. Here we are. So back to the first one. Oh, getting this one done right off the bat. Actually, in 10 seconds. Okay, so we're going to finish off with our final set. Once we're done this last set, we are done for the day. Here we go. So internal, external. And focusing on breathing. Do not hold your breath. Does not help. Really only makes things harder. Trying to push your hips forward. Open up your chest so that your body is one straight line. You don't have like a bend in your hips at all. Let's do this, you guys. We're almost there on this side. 15 seconds left. I know you got this. Even if you just hold that half side plank, it's all good. Just don't give up on us. Not yet. 3, 2, 1. Nice job. Okay, other side.
flip-a-roo.
Okay, you guys, the same exact thing that you just did on that first side. Have to do it one more time on this last side, and we are done it. Ready? Here we go. That was your beep. So up into that half side plank, hips forward, chest open. Same thing here. You are breathing. There you go. Trying to work the same amount of those internal, external rotations with your leg as you can, as you did on the first side. Remember, we want to keep it even. And I know it's totally easier said than done, especially now on your final set when your hips are so tired. But you have 10 more seconds, so just stay with us. Use some of those deep breaths. Exhale through it. 3, 2, 1. Nice job. Woo! That one is done. Okay, we have these last two. Hollow hold. The isolated crunch. And then you got it done. Yay! All right, so let's get this hold done with lifting up, stand tight back, shoulders leave the floor, knees are at 90 degrees, and then we can reach the arms back behind the head. One leg out. And if you can keep your back down, then you can send that second leg up. As soon as it starts to come off, we'll find somewhere that we can keep it down. 15 seconds. Yeah. Let's do this. Here we go. Take 2 more deep breaths. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. All right, last one. We are here. This is it. Okay, so take a couple deep breaths because you will have time for those. We'll lift up our legs. Lift up our hands. Get a triangle in the hands. Big inhale. And then exhale and crunch it off the floor. So we'll try to get those shoulder blades leaving the floor. Every single rep. Exhale. They leave. There you go. Halfway, you guys. 20 seconds and we are there. Nice work. Yes. Come on now. Don't give up. 5 seconds. One more. 3, 2, 1. And you guys are so very done. Amazing job. Yay. Okay, so we're down on the floor here. We're going to transition into 2 stretches that I want you guys to do. First one is for your hip flexors, the front side of your hips. Oh, you probably saw this coming. This half kneeling hip flexor stretch with the pelvic tilt, probably my favorite stretch. This is the one that literally probably saved me back in the day when I first started getting low back pain, because it was all down. It all came down to me having tight hip flexors in the front, and I never really understood it, but it made sense because my hips were tight, and I'll just kind of tuck my shirt in so you guys can see, but these muscles here were tight, so it was putting my back into an arch, and I couldn't do anything about it because the muscles were just tight. So that pelvic tilt is important, but just a constant stretching in the front and side is really important, especially if you are prone to low back pain, sensitive lower back, or if you know that you have like an arch in your back, you've ever been told that by a physio or anything, this will help you, okay? Now, love saying this, is the perfect time to do it because you guys are warm, and we don't want to do this when our body and our muscles are cold. We want to do it when we're warm, and I'm talking like movement. We've released the fluid in our joints, our ligaments and everything, our tendons are all warm, we've been moving already. So we'll take about a minute and spend it on both sides. I want you guys to do this, okay? When you're done, 60 seconds on both sides, we need to do something to also stretch out the back side. So you can go onto your back into this one, yes, where we pull in. Maybe you want to put your foot up against the wall here, and you can spend 60 seconds on each side in this one as well. Anything else? You guys want to do low back, hamstrings, do them, okay? But those two are
probably, definitely the most important that you get in, okay? So if you're gonna do anything, do those, and then everything else can come in as an addition. Thank you guys so much. You are done with me.
Yay! Hopefully you guys have a great day. Thank you so much again for dealing with this early morning class, although no one was here live, but that's okay. For those of you who are watching the replay, which will be all of you, please drop a comment below here or head into our Facebook group and let me see your sweaty selfies, or just let me know how you feel. And I will see you guys tomorrow. We are at 8 a.m. all week. Just today was the one-off day. Have a great day, you guys, and we will chat soon. Bye.